Hello and welcome. My name is Biagio Mazza, Pastoral Associate at St. Sabina Parish in Belton, Missouri, and I'm here to welcome you to another Do You Know series question. Today's Do You Know question is, do you know why Thomas Aquinas is referred to as the dumb ox? Since Second Vatican Council's revision of the calendar, we celebrate the feast of St. Thomas Aquinas on January the 28th. Originally, it was celebrated on March the 7th, the day that he died, but January 28th was the day in which his bones were transferred from Italy to the Dominican monastery in Toulouse, France, where he is currently buried. So on January the 28th, St. Thomas Aquinas, who is consistently throughout history has been referred to as the dumb ox. That title originates with one of his teachers, Albert the Great, Albertus Magnus, who was a great teacher of philosophy, especially Greek philosophy and Aristotle, into the Latin West. He saw the brightness and the intelligence of Thomas Aquinas, his student, and he also noticed that he was very taciturn, very quiet person, and yet also very large. And so he made the statement that the bellowing of this dumb ox will be heard around the world. So he knew that the writings and the work of Thomas Aquinas, even as a student, would become well known throughout the entire world. And that's the origin of the term the dumb ox. Thomas Aquinas was born to a kind of wealthy and royal family in Italy, not too far from Monte Cassino, and his father was the Lord of Aquino, from which we get the name Thomas Aquinas. At an early age, he was sent to the Monte Cassino, the Benedictine monastery, to learn and to hopefully, with the hope of becoming a member of the Benedictine monks and so on. And Thomas studied there for a while, but after moved to the University of Naples, where he became exposed to Aristotelian philosophy, which had its really basis in the translations made by Arabic people like Averroes, who were Arabic scholars who had preserved the Greek philosophy of Aristotle in Arabic and then got translated into Latin so that Thomas Aquinas and many of the other teachers could be exposed to it. So he went to the University of Naples, was exposed to Aristotelian philosophy, which would influence his whole life from that time on, and the way he taught and the way he wrote. In 1244, he decided that instead of joining the Benedictines, that he was going to join a new order called the Orders of Friar Preachers, which were the Dominican order as we know it today. So contrary to the family's really desires, he joined that order, and his family finally relented and allowed him to. And in 1245, what he did is he went to the University of Paris, where he met Albert the Great, who would be a great influence in his life, and was exposed through a lot of Aristotelian philosophy that he would begin to influence the way he would do theological thinking and reflection. In 1266, in 1245, he continued to was ordained, and then he continued writing and teaching. And he was called back to Rome to teach at the university. He went back to the University of Paris and so on. But throughout all this, he began writing what would be the most famous of his writings, which would be referred to as the Summa Theologica, the summary of all theological thinking of that time. He began this in the year 1266 and continued to write for the rest of his life, up to the year 1273, when he had a major mystical experience. By the way, he's also referred to as the angelic doctor, where he had a mystical experience where he considered all of his writing to be trash and wanted to destroy it. And his superiors insisted, no, this is not to be destroyed. They preserved that, and he died the year after in 1274, and his writings were deemed controversial during his own lifetime as well as after his death. Some of them even condemned a good bit of his writings. But his superiors continued to preserve, and eventually people continued to see the wisdom in his writings, and they were preserved. And by the Council of Trent in 1563 actually not only affirmed, but actually proposed Thomas's writings as systematic philosophy that was very ordered and a great way to teach and understand the theology at the time. The gift, by the way, if we continue that, in 1567, right after the Council of Trent, Pope Pius V declared him a doctor of the Church, and in 1879, Pope Leo XIII actually approved his writings to be used in all seminaries, and in 1974, Pope Paul VI actually held him up as a model for all theologians, not only because of his systematic thinking, but also his openness to the world of his day. The key insight with regards to Thomas Aquinas is that he merged the theology of his day with Aristotelian philosophy, which was considered pagan. And it became controversial. But Thomas did not see any contradiction between faith and reason and the use of what was available at the day to really do a systematic combination of theology and philosophy, and do it in a systematic way that would really enlighten both theology and philosophy. So to this very day, we value Thomas Aquinas' contribution in his Summa as a systematic way of understanding theological principles, and it's been revised, and Neo-Thomism continues to be a philosophy that is understood as spoken in the Church to this very day. So I hope this has helped to explain just a bit of the background of Thomas Aquinas and why he was called a Damax, and why his writings continue to impact theological thinking in the Catholic Church to this very day. Thank you very much, and I hope you will return again to more Do You Know series questions.